special edition of CGTN's live stream. We are broadcasting live from the Chinese capital, Beijing. Specifically, we are now at the Science and Technology Museum here. And today, we're expecting a space-based class, which is called Tiangong class, or better known as the Heavenly Palace class. Of course, this is going to be a big day in China, especially among all of the younger audiences. And of course, today, here, the primary and middle school students are gathering here. And about an hour ago, all of the students, I'm looking at 300 students now from primary school and middle schools in Beijing are gathering here, and they're making the final preparations for the upcoming space-based class, and the class is expected to happen in about, in about an hour's time. So over here, before we get started, let's have a preview of what will happen later. So what will be presented is the class, and of course I have plenty of questions I would like to know about the lives in space. What is like actually living there, how to eat and what to drink and how to sleep even, all of those simple questions, but it could be quite different. Of course, we don't take everything for granted. Like I can walk freely and I can turn around, but it could be a different story if you are in space. And this place, the students now, they're having a break, and actually the tutors and teachers on the ground were preparing the students for the upcoming lecture from outer space, and they are taking a probably 5 minutes to 10-minute break and rehearse everything once again. And after that, I'm going to keep my voice down so that I wouldn't disturb their class. And this place, I would like to show you first the pictures on the wall. The pictures on the wall, and over there, I think you can see there are 3 big paintings or 3 pictures over there. And the left one, the first one, is a rocket, and also there is a goddess over there. Let me see what we have over there. So in the picture you can see, okay, let's zoom in a little bit. You can see a rocket, and on the upper right corner you can see a goddess. I'm not sure that if you can see that clearly. It's like a goddess, like a nymph actually, and we call it Fei Tian in the Chinese culture, which is quite prevalent in Chinese Buddhism. And also, if you turn the camera a little bit to the right, and then you can see a spacesuit, and this spacesuit is named after Fei Tian. It's called Fei Tian spacesuit, which is quite poetic and also very Chinese, I have to say. And also, the reasons why China names this vehicle so poetically, if we look at some of the launch vehicles or some of the returning vehicles in China's space missions, then you would know that China has been naming all of those vehicles in its legends, in its folklore. Let me give you an example, like Chang'e 5. Chang'e is actually the goddess in the Chinese culture. The Chinese believe that Chang'e lives on the moon. That is why the lunar, we call it Chang'e 5 returning. We call it returning vehicle, or it's a rover which collected some sample last year, at the end of last year, actually around the same time last year in 2020. And also Zhurong, let me give you another example. That's a lunar rover. It's named after the god of fire. And also this time it's going to be Tiangong space station. Of course, let me walk into the camera again. It's Tiangong space station, and what does it mean actually? In English, it means Heavenly Palace. So it's quite poetic, isn't it? It means like you live in a palace in outer space over there. And of course, behind me over there, across the students, you can see the big vehicle lying there, and that is the Tiangong core module. That is the model of it. It's around 16.6 meters long, and this module is exactly the same size as the module now orbiting the lower Earth orbit right now. Of course, 3 Chinese astronauts, or taikonauts we say, they will be giving these students some lectures from the Tiangong core module that you can see in the camera right now. Let me give you some facts when it comes to the Tiangong core modules and also China's launch missions this year and in the coming year. So in this year, in the past year, in 2021, we have already launched 2 manned spacecraft missions and also 2 cargo spacecraft launches and a core module that you can see in the picture. Let me give you some specific dates. I've made some preparations here so that I wouldn't make any factual mistakes. That is on the 29th April 2021. China launched Tianhua, the first and largest of the 3 modules of this upcoming space station, as you can see over there. And also, when it comes to May, about 1 month later, we launched Tianzhou-2 cargo spacecraft. And in June the 17th, 2021, this year, Shenzhou-13 sent 3 Chinese astronauts into space to the Tiangong space station. That was the first time that Tiangong space station was used. And then after that, in September the 20th, 2021, Tianzhou-3 cargo spacecraft was launched to dock with Tianhua core module. And then in October the 16th, 2021, in October, about 2 months ago, China launched the Shenzhou-13 spacecraft and sent 3 Chinese astronauts to the Tiangong space station. Okay, so now let me walk into the camera once again. So we have been talking some facts and the launches in China's space exploration missions of the past year. And of course, in the next year, in 2022, we're expecting more launch missions. There will be 6 of them all together, including the Wentian and Mengtian modules, and the 2 lab modules will be docked with the Tianhua core module, so that the spacecraft, so that our Chinese astronauts can do some experiments up there. And of course, there will be 2 cargo spacecraft launch missions next year. And of course, there will be 2 manned spacecraft being launched next year. So we're expecting a lot tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a big year when it comes to China's spacecraft or space exploration. Of course, by the end of 2022, China's Tiangong space station will be completed, and that is a big achievement for China's space exploration programs. Of course, there is this so-called 3-step strategy when it comes to China's space exploration. It was brought up back in the 1990s. Actually, the end of the 1990s, the first step is to send some astronauts into space, and then they can return safely. Of course, it has been completed already back in 2003, that Yang Li Wei was the first Chinese astronaut that was sent to space. And for the second step, let me see, that means to test the key technologies needed for a permanent space station. And China has already sent 11 astronauts into space right now. So the second step now, we are at the second step at this point, actually a little bit beyond that. And the third step, which is expected to be completed next year, that is to assemble and operate a permanently crewed space station, which is set to be finished by the end of 2022. Okay, so basically that is the idea of China's space exploration and the whole strategies and what we have done over the past year. And China has been doing that. China has been exploring the universe or outer space for quite a few decades. But starting last year, actually, nearly 4 or 5 years ago, they have made some really great achievements. And by the end of 2022, as I said just now, there will be something more. And of course, if you have any questions, please leave your comments down below on CGTN's social media platforms. I will get back to your questions as soon as possible. And we have got this comment that is Chris Strong on Facebook. I can see you exploring universe. Good job, big team. And also we've got another one that is Solomon Cupbo on YouTube. Great. Okay. So, and the class, the Tiangong class is about to get started pretty soon, in about an hour's time. And the students now, they are coming back to their venue. And I really want to show you some of the experiments that they would like to do. Let me show you here. So, some preview of the experiments. Of course, CGTN later, when the Tiangong class, or the Heavenly Palace lecture starts in about an hour time, we'll have a live coverage, and you can watch the CGTN TV and also CGTN social media platforms, wherever you can find CGTN. We're going to have this live coverage of the whole event, and the lecture is expected to last around 45 minutes to an hour, because in China, for primary school students and middle and high school students, for each class, for each session, that is around 45 minutes, so that's they can concentrate. Of course, this time is all about what is the life in outer space and how Chinese astronauts live there. And as far as I know, probably some spoilers. So the Chinese astronauts will show the Chinese students on the ground, also who watches TV, that how they live there, how they eat, and what they drink, how they sleep, and also the effect of microgravity on their bodies. And one of the actually impacts of microgravity on human bodies, if you're living outer space for quite a long time, that is muscle losses, we know. So that is why the astronauts have to do some exercises regularly. They have to be on the treadmill at all times, regularly at least, so that they could prevent from muscle losses. And also later, if you watch the live show, you're going to see the space suit that is specifically designed for Chinese astronauts to prevent muscle losses. That will help to strengthen the muscles, to tense the muscles, so that the muscles will be, so that they can preserve more muscle mass on their bodies, of course. And after that, they're going to have more experiments, and we can see that in the camera right now. And that is the teacher. The teacher is preparing the students about the upcoming session, the lecture. They did it about 30 minutes ago, so they went through all of the experiments that they will do later. And I would like to go into one of the decks to show you around. Okay. Okay, let me bring you to the crowd. So the students are getting ready right now, and then let's give it a closer look. So we are not filming or interviewing any miners. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the equipment that they have, or the gadgets they have on the decks, so that we wouldn't show their faces and wouldn't talk to them. Okay, that is the protocol. Let me show you the equipment they have over there for the upcoming session pretty soon. And on the decks over there, I think you can see that 2 glasses of water, and also you can see a glass bowl, and also I can see some paper flowers, and there is a ping pong ball if we give it a closer look. Okay. Let me see. Let's give it a closer look. 给它的大特写一点. Okay. So I was telling my cameraman to have to zoom in a little bit so that we can see what is on the desk. Okay. So on the desk we can see 2 glasses of water and also a glass bowl over there, and you can see a plate over there, and there is a ping pong ball in the plate. You can see that at the end of it. Okay, let's okay, tilt up a little bit. Tilt up. 看这个盘子里边有什么. Okay. And we have the exclusive footage, so I would like to show you what they have over there. Okay, so now it's clear. So we can see the pink plate over there, and there are 2 glass balls in it, and also we can see the orange ball, that is the ping pong ball, and they're gonna try out the buoyancy force experiment later with that. And also there are some pink flowers, those will be using the experiments. And also we can see 2 glasses of water to try out the buoyancy force and to compare what is different. To compare the difference, to compare notes. The teachers, the lecturers in space will do the same experiment, so that they can compare notes. They know the difference between what is happening on the ground and what is happening in space. Okay. Now let's turn around. So everyone is getting ready at this point, and this is the main venue in Beijing. Of course, apart from Beijing, there will be 4 other venues in South China's Guangxi Autonomous Region, and also in Southwest China's Sichuan province, and also there will be 2 other venues in Hong Kong and also in Macau. And of course, after the experiments, they will try out different experiments. Let me go through the experiments one more time, so that you'll be better prepared when you watch the live show. So the 3 Chinese astronauts will show them the inside of the Tiangong module, and after that they're going to do some experiments like buoyancy force, the loss of buoyancy force. Of course we have buoyancy force here. If we drop drop my phone right now, it drops to the ground, but it wouldn't in space. Of course, that is all common sense, but let's not forget that the target audiences are primary school and high school students here in China. And also after that, they're going to do this experiment of making a water ball, because in space there is no gravity. It is easier to make a well-rounded water ball, so that they're going to try out water surface tension and also water balloon optical equipment experiments. So that is why they have all of those equipments over there on the desk. Okay, and of course now I'm looking at around 300 students now on the ground, and after the live demonstration about 45 minutes, the students will have some questions. There are 5 menus altogether. So in Beijing, some students will ask the questions. I'm pretty sure there will be tons of interesting questions from these curious students, and I'm actually very much jealous of them. I didn't have the chance to ask any questions to the Chinese astronauts in outer space right now. And China is the second country after the United States that can do a live lecture like this. We know that South Korea has also done something like this, but the videos are recorded, and China is doing it live. The last time was back in 2013. Wang Yaping, the first female Chinese astronaut that stepped out of the core module, who managed to do the spacewalking, will be the lecturer. Of course, there will be 2 other Chinese astronauts who will be facilitating her to do the experiments, to do the lectures here. Okay, so if you have any questions, leave your comments on CGTN social media platforms. Let me see what you have over there. So we have got some comments on YouTube. That's Chen Qi, hope they vote for world peace. And also we got a Nali on YouTube, looking forward to the lecture, super excited. Of course, I think everyone is excited, including myself. I'm excited, I've never seen that before. And also we have Lim K on YouTube again. These young students are China's future engineers, scientists and researchers. Way to go, China. Thank you very much. So that is why China has been cultivating interest in the younger generations, interest in space science. I think it is pretty recent in China actually. Let's say like 10 years ago actually, when it comes to the spacecraft launch missions in China, not very popular, not really well known as it is now. But now you can see that the Chinese astronauts are giving these students some live lectures here. So that is something really, really exciting. And now I think they are getting ready. And they are from different schools in Beijing. I see some students are from international schools because they don't seem to be Chinese nationals over there. So it is quite diverse. And also we have some students from South China, Southwest China, and also in Hong Kong and Macau. And of course, I have some colleagues in Hong Kong and also a colleague in Southwest China's Sichuan. They will be live on the ground, giving us a well-rounded coverage of this whole event. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, and that is what will the Chinese astronauts do in outer space, and what will happen to China's Tiangong space launch mission, or Tiangong space station. There are some of them, according to the Chinese authorities, including improving the spacecraft rendezvous technology and permanent human operations orbit and long-term autonomous space flight of the space station and regenerative life support in outer space, and also scientific and practical applications at large scale in orbit. And of course, later we will see what the Chinese astronauts will show us, what they will do. Let's not forget that these audiences are primary school and high school students. And in some cases they are college graduates already, but they are all die-hard fans of China's space science exploration. And of course, if you have any questions, leave your comments down below and I'll get back to your questions as soon as possible. So what will happen in the next year? So we are expecting 6 major launches next year. There will be 2 manned spacecraft launches, 2 cargo spacecraft launches, and also 2 modules, Mengtian and Wentian, and which will be docked with the Tianhe core module over there. Okay. Okay, so if you have any questions, do stay in touch, and then we'll get back to your questions as soon as possible. That is lovely. I would like to walk around to show you more about the venues, about the set over there. Let's move over there. 我们来到这边. Okay. So because the class is about to get started pretty soon, and by then I wouldn't be allowed to move freely. So now I'm giving you a preview and also the last chance to see the venue in Beijing over there. And let me show you. This is the. Okay, so let's anchor the camera so that you can see it clearly. And what you see now is actually a returning vehicle from the. Back in 2003 actually. And the returning vehicles actually, they're all quite standard, they'll look the same. So this is from Shenzhou-1. Okay, so and we can see the set, we can see the displays on the venue right now. They have been designed specifically to stimulate interest among all of the students, and the returning vehicle is one of them. And over there, I would like to zoom in a little bit. Okay, yeah, my cameraman is giving me this shot. I'm not allowed to touch it, but I would like to peeping inside, and that is a window over there. And this is the real thing, it is authentic. I covered a series of launch missions in China, including Tiangong 5. That was the first time that China collected some samples from the surface of the moon, and it was the first time for me to get really close to a returning vehicle just like that, exactly the same. And then, so it is some great achievements that China has done over the past few years. And if we pan the camera around, 我们把镜头往这边摇, okay, we're zooming a little bit, and then so we are at the back of this classroom right now. So we're zooming a little bit, okay. We'd like to zoom in a little bit, and then you can see. So I talked about the displays of this classroom, and that is the engine. That is the engine of Long March 5. Okay, in the camera you can see the huge, okay, structure, and that is the engine of Long March 5. So now you can see it clearly. Okay, great. Okay, so Long March 5 engine. So let's talk about Long March 5. There are two variants altogether. That is Long March 5 and Long March 5B, and it's a Chinese heavy-lift launch vehicle, and the first Chinese launch vehicle designed to use exclusively non-hypergolic liquid propellants. Once again, non-hypergolic liquid propellants. Okay, and the maximum payload capacity is about 25,000 kilometers to low Earth orbit, and it had its maiden flight back in 2016. Okay. Okay, that is great. So this is basically the classroom on the ground in Beijing, and then also we have been showing you around the surroundings and everything. And if we pan the camera around, I think you can see it clearly from this angle. What does it look like? You can see in the camera, it's very much like the Tiangong space station, and that would be the design of it. You can see the silhouette of the structure, and that is made with some light bulbs over there, and that is very interesting. Oh, it looks much better in camera than with my own eyes. Okay, we have got some other comment here. That is the Lim K. These young students are China's future engineers, scientists and researchers. Way to go, China. And also got another comment that is SUS. So many people look at the camera now. Yeah, of course, these students will be really interested. They're quite curious, of course, they're young. Yeah, and I actually, before it got started, there's teachers actually were preparing for the students for the upcoming lecture, and they're asking them not to be distracted by the cameras. There are tons of cameras. The press media outlets are over here, and then so it's full of cameras all around so that it can be televised across China and beyond. Of course, this lecture, these students they are really lucky to have this opportunity to be on the ground and to have these live interactions with Chinese astronauts. And not many people have this chance, and they can watch TV, and that is why we have so many live cameras around. Okay, so we have got another comment that is Na Li. Thank you so much for staying with us. It would be great if Yaping could talk about her spacewalk experiences during the lecture. Na Li, I think you know a lot about Yaping, and we know that Wang Yaping is the first female Chinese astronaut that conducted or managed to do spacewalking, and I really wish that she could be talking about that experience. And we know that Wang Yaping will be the main lecturer, and the two other colleagues will be facilitating her with the lecture pretty soon. That is happening pretty soon, and she will be talking about the lives of there. But I don't know if the students will be asking her about that experience of walking in space. That was rare opportunity, and actually I'm quite jealous of these students. When I was a student, we didn't have any chance like this. Okay, and now they can do some physics experiments like this. I still remember, like in school, we're gonna have this physics class, the experiments. The teacher would say that imagine there is no friction, imagine that there is no gravity, and what will happen if you drop something. But now what they are gonna do is like it is for real. They don't have to imagine anymore. So that is very interesting. Okay. And if you have any other questions, do stay with us. Thank you very much. And of course, I think that is almost the end of this live stream here for me on the ground in Beijing. And of course, if you are a space fan, don't forget that you can tune in to CGTN's TV Live and also CGTN social media platforms wherever you can find us. Once again, on CGTN's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Weibo, and we're going to have a live coverage. We have some colleagues here in Beijing. I'm here in Beijing, and also I have another colleague in southwest Sichuan. There is another live classroom over there, and also my colleague in Hong Kong, and also there is another of my colleague in the control center in Beijing. We're going to have a well-rounded live coverage of this whole event. If you are interested in science, space science, don't miss out. Bye-bye. Have a good day.